All right, everybody, welcome in to Real Talk with Spoon and Puddin. I'll be the one and only Big Spoon.
I'm gonna be pudding here, and I'll let you.
Episode 54. Our disclaimer: the primary purpose of this podcast is to educate and share our thoughts and opinions. When we have proven evidence on the topic, it will be brought forth. This podcast does not constitute advice or services to anyone. Spoon and Puddin do not accept any responsibility or liability for anyone, our guests, or anyone's comments or actions based on the material we talk about on our podcast. This podcast is for private and non-commercial use, and everyone should ascertain that the information we provide is correct and verified at all times. There shall be no adding to, editing, or reproduction of this podcast without prior written permission from Spoon and Puddin. You can reach us at realspoonandpuddin@gmail.com. Well, let's head right on into the elephant in the room. What do you say?
Well, the elephant in the room was a stickered up weeb person in Nashville. Couldn't just put the gun and start a shotgun for themselves. They had to take some people with them. That's what transgenders do. They like to take the kids with them, right? I mean, look, you say what you want to, but
that's what our government. This is the world our government has created, right?
Well, of course, it's what they want. They love this. I don't know. Like I said, I'd seen a bunch about it, and there was a lot of people who were saying females just aren't known for committing suicide. And
well, sure they are. It's just the men are at a higher rate.
The men, but the men, I don't know. Are the men so much at a higher rate that they want to take a lot of people with them on the way out, or they just say, "I'm ready to go. I'm not going to be."
Yeah, and I tend with the stats. The mainstream media and the government, they're going to turn this into a gun issue, which it's not an issue. What they do with the 13s and 14s and 15s?
If she would have rented a U-Haul, and just flown down the street and just T-boned one of the school buses coming out of that school, she'd probably killed more kids. So get the gun issue out of it. You know what I mean? That's where you're not going to go ban budget trucks. So why is it we got to look at guns?
It's more of a mental issue.
It's a mental health. It always has been mental health.
And our government has helped create a far worse world and environment to live in, and created more mental health issues with the people in this country. And I think I can speak on that from a lot of experience in my life, from growing up to now. I've lost a lot of people to suicide, and here's the other thing. Women, I found with statistics, people say that when people say they're going to commit suicide, they don't. But I find in women, when women threaten it, they tend to do it more often than men.
Well, technically, it didn't commit suicide. It took off it took off. It took off with the intent to have someone else killed.
Well, she was committing suicide by cop. That's what she was doing. Well,
she wanted to commit suicide by cop and try to, take a lot of innocent people with her. It was funny. See, Thursday, I'm gonna show a picture in a second on my phone. I hope let's see, is that you see that? See the guy here? Oh, over here. That's that attorney guy. That's my, his name is Matthew LaRosiere, and I've spoken with him about something, privately twice, about 3D printing guns and stuff. And he's real big in the 3D printed gun community, and he works with a lot of them. But he was up in Washington, D.C. last Thursday because the Republicans were holding a hearing on pistol braces. I'm going to get around to this in just a minute. And the guy sitting there is from Everytown, and he was the lone opposition to the Republicans, and they're trying to stop this pistol brace thing that's So when I seen this last night, early this morning when I got up, my stepson had texted me pictures of the guns. Oh shit! One of them had a pistol brace on it. You know, how coincidental. This is like the third AR with a pistol brace that they had two. That they had Dayton, which was during Trump, and you had the Colorado shooter who used one at the King Supers, and then boom, here we go with, this goes on Thursday, and then all of a sudden you find her weed stickered gun, laying at this Christian school. That's what I was going circle about. But this guy was up here. Go ahead.
Did your mind go where mine did when you seen the videos of her walking in and the pistol brace and the media clamoring about guns? My first thought was, which politician, which part of our government helped her out into doing this?
Which person been gaslighting her? Which social? Let me just put it this way: which social media organization has been gaslighting her and spoon feeding her all this? Go do something tragic with one of these weapons to prove how. And again, the pistol brace does not make your gun more lethal at all. All it does is give you better accuracy. Okay. And if that's the case, and look, this woman, whatever, he, whatever you want to call it, Hayden, Aubrey, whatever, didn't really, 6 people,
the tragedy here, the tragedy here is the children.
Yes, Dave, it was. It was a she who wanted to be a he. And so that was because I asked my wife this morning, I said, so was it a woman being a man, or was it a man trying to be a woman? I said, it looks like it was a woman. And I'm like, okay, I did there's a lot of looking into it, and I watched a couple of news videos about it. I can't stand the mainstream spin on everything, because they're going to let's use this tragedy. And again, all I hear is, was it Eric Holder? Don't let a good tragedy go to waste. So step forward they go. Let's march in here and spin this into a gun grabbing moment. Oh, you're welcome. But there wasn't no brains on this tranny. I seen a picture already this morning where it was showing a Denver shooter and a couple other people. It was said there were 4 of them. It was claims that this one and there were 3 others committed mass shootings from the trans community.
And let's not let this go unnoticed. This was not like it was a surprise, right? She's all over Instagram,
apparently
posting things. She called a suicide hotline, and let's be honest, mental illness in this country, the support of mental illness and is a joke. So that was no help. So it's not like they didn't know something like this was coming. To what magnitude and exactly the location, maybe not. But with her posting all the things she's posting and calling the suicide hotline, they know who she was. They know where she lived. Where does she live close to?
Me and my wife argued about it, because I watched the Waco thing this weekend. I know did you finish the 3 episodes that was on Netflix?
Yeah.
The part that I had to watch twice, because I was 15 when that happened, and I knew about it, but I didn't know any of the details, and I haven't went back and looked at it. But so I went back on that twice. I rewinded it and shown it to the wife a second time, because it was Bill Clinton at the very end.
They still lied on this documentary too, though.
Oh, they always lie. They always try to spin it. But you see Bill Clinton walk around the podium on April 20th and say, what did he say? Oh, these people were stockpiling weapons and ammunition. And I'm like, it's not illegal. And the wife the whole time is sitting over here saying, well, you've heard them admit they wanted to kill themselves. You heard them admit they're fanatics and they're religious. I said, yeah, sure. They're religious kooks. Sure. They're fanatics. Sure. They were sitting there minding their own effing business. And you want to sit there and you want to have them say, oh, well, they were having sex with children. Why is Clinton still walking around?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is Clinton still alive? I'm just curious. The man who condemned these fuckers is walking around, been to Epstein Island over a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen times. We don't know how many times. We know he was on the plane over 2 dozen times.
Look, I don't condone the having sex with children, but
I don't condone it either.
But that's what they claimed.
But they claimed that was the reason to go in.
Let's go back in history where kings and princes and dukes married 10, 11, and 12-year-old girls. All right. Let's not act like if David Koresh and all those people believed his political stuff and they allowed him to marry a 12-year-old.
He has a First Amendment right to religious freedom, and he has a Second Amendment right to stockpile guns and ammo. That's not a reason to go kick in his fucking door. You want to get him for the children? Go for the children. But you get proof on the children. That's what the Fourth Amendment says. Due process of law. Get the subpoena or the search warrant and go that way. But
the real truth is
there was no reason.
We know what the real truth was. Clinton.
The real truth was they wanted to make a point.
He created the ATF, right? They knew what they had.
No, he didn't create it. The ATF's been around since 1968. He weaponized the ATF. Or they were starting to weaponize them.
They weaponized the ATF, and he wanted to say, I want to use this new toy I have, and I know somebody I can go after. But the truth of the matter is they could have picked Koresh up at any point in time.
Yes.
Out in the city. He met with the local sheriff. He met with the local sheriff many times over the same issue. All right. And they want you to believe any documentary you watch, they want you to believe that the people in the compound shot first. That's not the truth.
We don't. I mean, look, what they shown, there was a camera. It's hard to tell who was shooting first, but you shouldn't have 75 agents just rushing up on a door. You know what I mean, like that. Yeah. And I mean, if you have a search warrant, then you handle it different. Usually, you should have the sheriff out front.
But the funny thing was, in this documentary, they actually admitted finally that the FBI and the negotiators and everybody wasn't on the same page. You got the negotiators talking to Koresh and Steve inside, promising them one thing, and you got the FBI and the CIA and the ATF doing something totally opposite to what the negotiators are telling them.
I thought the most criminalizing thing was the Clinton thing at the end. I made my wife watch that twice. I said, you watch this again twice. You know how many people in Tennessee would be considered stockpiling ammo and guns? Yeah, I mean, think about how many people your neighbor across, I mean, it's just saying, there's a lot of people who have a lot, what's the definition of a stockpiled gun?
What they determine.
The average person has, what is, since you've only got 2 hands, if you have 3, are you now stockpiling guns?
It's what they determine at any
particular time. There is no definition. But Clinton said at the end of that video that they were stockpiling ammunition and guns. It's not illegal, fellas. Not illegal at all. You have no reason. Now if in this room he's got a fully auto M60 without a NFA tax stamp, which is already a horse shit thing. It shouldn't even exist. It's a violation. I consider that a tread on the Second Amendment. But you state that in a subpoena or a search warrant, and then you go get the gun. If he's got 3 other, if he's got unregistered silence, okay. You've got laws on the books for this. You state what area of the compound to search for, and you go search. But this is, what if he has a short barrel? Oh, wait, here, I'm going to circle this one back to the Nashville thing. What if he has an unregistered short barreled rifle? That Aubrey person in Nashville, well, I guess if they would have had a tax stamp on that rifle, it wouldn't have been able to go do that, would it? She lived in Nashville, and if she'd have had a tax stamp, then the gun would have, when she walked into the school, it would have stopped functioning, right? Because it has a tax stamp.
That's right.
Because the government extorted money out of you, and again, you're not allowed to tax the right. That's
Fairies would have flew out of her ass and stopped the bullets from coming out because that tax stamp was there.
It would have grabbed every bullet that was going to kill someone other than her. it would have redirected it and pointed it back at her because of the tax stamp on the gun.
But
This
the whole
isn't-
reason, the
it's
whole
never
reason,
about
the whole reason this was written by our forefathers, and our politicians fail to realize that, and a lot of our population, the whole reason they wrote that, and the Second Amendment, the way they wrote that, is because they wanted us to be armed against our tyrannical government in case we ever had to do the same thing that they did.
the crazy thing is what the ATF did at Mount Carmel. That's what that Second Amendment was for. They were coming in with a show of force, and the Second Amendment says, you know, plant your ground, fight back. You know, it's a shame that David Koresh told his people to stop firing because he had them up against the ropes on that first day, big time. They were completely outgunned. Oh yeah, they whooped their. Yeah, that was what I'm saying. The ATF run away with their licking their wounds, and you know they didn't know what to do. They were like, "What the hell just happened?" You walked into a hornet's nest, and the hornet's nest attacked.
See,
the thing is, Koresh should. I mean, I don't know. When the negotiators started calling me, I don't think I'd have been trusting them. I'd have been like, "You give them hell. They'll send another wave. And the next wave will be the one that kills us. But you give them hell." You know, like they're here. They're not here. This isn't going away. You know, they're not going to, the government's not going to lose. They're going to, you know, resupply and come back.
I thought the biggest tragedy was they still couldn't admit that they murdered those people.
Oh no.
They wanted to say the Davidians started the fires, and we all know they had the flamethrowers on the tanks.
Even if the Davidians started the fires, you know, whatever. I mean, I don't, you know, that's, to me, that wasn't the one, that wasn't the first day, what they did. And then here in Clinton, you know, 50 something days later, you know, coming around on April 20th saying, well, they were stockpiling guns and ammo.
So
it's not a reason. That's not a reason to go to their door.
No.
You know, not a reason at all.
And you can't tell me if they were there to just have the search warrant to see what they had and to pick up David Koresh, why do they have to go with that much firepower? They were looking for a fight. They wanted to fight.
Koresh, but what you said is Koresh talked to the sheriff all the time. If the ATF would have went to the sheriff would have easily got him to come out of the house. Then they could have arrested him and took him down to the station. And then they could have said, the sheriff said, hey, they want to search for this, and this weapon. You know, we have reason to believe that you've got unregistered machine guns in there. You have unregistered suppressors or short-barreled shotguns or short-barreled rifles, which, again, to me, I think is I think every one of those is an infringement and a usurpation of the Second Amendment. Every one.
Well, he's making hand grenades. So what?
Well, the hand grenade thing, you know, okay. I mean, even that one. I mean, look, I'm not against being able to buy hand grenades on Amazon 2-day shipping.
This is the government. This is the government that has nuclear weapons that can wipe all of us out today. But then they tell other countries they can't have nuclear weapons. You know, talking with reason. Sure. You know.
I'm going to look up that country. I can't remember what it is. There's a country out there. I'm sorry. What did you want to say about you said you did some research on the Nashville person.
Well, the research is, you know, it's a mentally ill young lady who wanted to be a man. So she's living as a trans and wanting to be called whatever. I mean, I don't know. Him, I guess, or it, or they, or whatever, all the bullshit that this liberal political agenda is going on. But it's not a gun problem. You know, in the 1400s and 1500s and 1600s, when guns wasn't even thought of, you think there wasn't murder and lots of it? Sure, they use knives, they use poison, but the mainstream media and your politicians want you to believe it's a gun issue. It's not a gun issue. It's a mental issue. It's a political agenda issue. It's a mainstream media bias agenda. It has very little to do with guns, because if a person wants to kill, they're going to kill. Making guns harder to get and stricter gun laws is not going to stop the bad guys from getting them. Not one freaking second. So don't buy into the mainstream media. Don't buy into politicians' BS of they need more gun control. Because if the Second Amendment was absolute in everybody's mind like it should be, and the teachers and people in that school were carrying guns, it wouldn't have been 9 people or 6 people.
Well, I believe it's Switzerland. I'm sitting here skimming through Wikipedia now, but
you talk about where they're required to own a gun, they're trained, all that stuff.
The founders put in the early 1800s. A lot of the founding members of our government had said that all able-bodied men should have a rifle. We have Mr. Tennessee living. We have it's a lot. We got to sit down one day when we got more time and do more work on Rumble and all these other platforms. But I believe it was Switzerland that actually still today, if you're an able-bodied man able to be a militia, you're required to have, I believe it is a 1 M4 rifle, M4, not, you know what I mean? Not these semi-auto AR-15s that you go buy at Bass Pro. They want you to have the real deal device. I believe it's 2 or 3 grenades and a couple hundred rounds of ammo with a vest. And, you know, you're supposed to be able to, in Switzerland, if an invasion happens, you're supposed to be able to report to a place dressed like a soldier. It's kind of required. But the founders in this country in the early 1800s, I believe it was 40 balls and powder to shoot 40 balls. And they had there was what they required, or they expected every able-bodied man to have of fighting age for the militia to work was shoot up to 40 rounds with a rifle. Flintlock, of course, being in the time period.
Well, it's what it ought to be in this country too.
Well, I mean, again, you got all these people that have never shot a rifle, and the thing is, if you was to take them to shoot a rifle, you were pretty anti-gun. Do you come over here that one day and started shooting a little bit, and you said, "Well, ain't that bad?" And it ain't. It really ain't. It's kind of fun.
Why don't school boards hire armed veterans to be security for schools? Because I'm going to let you tell you this: your government indoctrinated schools, they don't care about your children. Your politicians really don't care about your children. Your government don't care about your children.
I'm thinking about for Dave's comment up there about pulling people over to pay late. I wonder about a FOIA request to the Portland PD to ask them how many citations were issued for violating a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit on Highway 109. Do you think they would have to turn them over?
We talk about on that's on 31.
No, I know what he's talking about. What I'm asking is I've seen them sitting down here on 109 outside of the city limits in a 55 zone. Right. If a Portland PD officer writes a citation for violating there is no 55-mile-per-hour speed limit in the entire city of Portland on Highway 109. If you follow 109 north, it goes to 45, then you cross the Portland city limits. So it drops from 55 to 45. Then you hit Portland. So if any city police officer writes a citation for violating a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit zone, he's not in his jurisdiction and has no reason to write a ticket there. But I'm thinking, I wonder if a FOIA request would bring some light to that bullshit that Portland does, just for a little quick local nugget. Yeah,
I think we need to do the FOIA request for both of them. The 31 side, the one in Kentucky too.
The one in Kentucky, look, for the question about Kentucky, if they've got you lit up before you cross the state line, they're allowed to pursue up to, I don't know I think there's a variance. I don't know how far it is, but if they've lit their lights up before you get across the state line, they are allowed to follow you into the next state, which is, most people probably at that point think they're home free. But like if they have you lit up before you turn into If you turn into a parking lot, like a private parking lot, like say Lucky Lotto, we use Lucky Lotto for instance. You turn into Lucky Lotto, no lights are on, then they turn the lights on. Well, technically, it's technicality at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't in pursuit. You know, that was from what I understand how police law is. But the one I've been really toying over is down here on the south side, on my side of town. I was like, how could you catch him? Because if you caught everyone, because that's, you know, again, there is no 55-mile-per-hour speed limit inside of the city limits of Portland. So why would a Portland PD be writing someone for violating 55 miles per hour?
Well, there is on Highway 52 going east.
Not on 109. 109. I'm talking about 109.
Yeah.
Follow 109 through the whole town. There is no 55.
Yeah. No.
Yes. The violation written on 109 for violating a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit would catch them because that shows they're outside the jurisdiction writing people. But again, hold on a second. I'll let you talk for a minute.
And here's another fun nugget for if you're on private property, say Walmart or whatever. The only jurisdictions the police have there is if they're called. But as far as just traffic citations, if you're in a fire lane or illegally parked in a handicap spot, it's the only things. Those stop signs and all the other stuff they put up there it's not a legal traffic citation because it's private property. It's not put up by the state. It's put up by the companies. So I've heard people ask, like, do you have to stop at the stop signs and parking lots? No, you don't have to. Those are for the private companies. You're supposed to, good drivers want to stop, but it's only if pedestrians are coming. But the other thing about that Highway 31 there at the state line is, I wonder how many of them they don't light up prior to them crossing the state line. So that would be a good FOIA request. And the bad thing is you can't request a car video because only the Portland police officers have body cams, and if they turn them on, so who knows if they even have those on? So that video wouldn't do you any good. But I think me and him will put in separate FOIA requests for that. But getting back to the Nashville shooter, it's very tragic for these children. You know, you expect when you send your children to school for them to be protected. I've been at this for a long time. The government or any government-run company that's including your government indoctrinated schools, school boards, they don't care about your children. They don't care about the people. You know, it should be about the safety and the betterment of the people and the children, number one, in anything and everything we do, but it's not. So don't drink the Kool-Aid, as Dave says, and don't fall for your mainstream media and your political agendas of it being a gun issue, because it's not. It's a mental health crisis issue, and this country is in a mental health crisis more than ever, and most of it has to do with the not only the chemicals they put in your food, in your drinking water, the chemtrails, whether you believe them or not, and your political agendas, pushing this stuff in these people's mind, and especially our children's mind, about, well, you can identify the more than two genders, and you could be a man instead of a woman. And we talked about that guy from Texas. He's still fighting his battle with his wife that moved his children to California because she wants her son to be a girl. What do you do?
One of the things my wife was arguing with me about this morning on this Nashville thing was, well, didn't Tennessee make it illegal to have drag shows? And I said, have you seen the videos coming out of Texas and Florida? And my wife said, well, no, they have drag shows at bars and they're usually funny. I said, sometimes they're funny, but these ones that have been going on in Texas and Florida have had, kids at them. So when they're in bars, it's supposed to be 21. I said, no. part of this agenda is to introduce kids to this bullshit. Just like the government in 1993, the government wants to go after David Koresh for having all these kids in the compound. When Bill Clinton, hey Epstein, can I get on your plane? Let's go get some kitties. I want some kitties on my deck. Let's go kill this whole bunch of people over here.
But Tennessee just made laws so you can't do them outside.
I mean, Tennessee, whatever, so like I said, she was talking against it. And I said, I've seen the videos. I've seen them in Dallas and Houston, Orlando, where they got 8-year-old kids putting dollars in trannies, just stripper shorts, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
Got the fruit and berries all pulled back and tucked down and taped down to the, just you got kids going to this shit. And you say there's not a problem. I said, Tennessee, hey, look, I'm for them people having their rights to go and assemble and do whatever debaucherous shit they want to do. But you shouldn't have some kids there. You know what I mean?
Do it indoors and away from the children. If you want to do
it, but then again, these Antifa doofballs that you see out front of these things, carrying their little rifles and acting like they're military people. But again, what you were saying earlier, I heard that. I've heard somebody who was suggesting that, who said, what have you found these ex-military guys that, they probably work for, 12 to $15 an hour to protect the kids.
You and I talked about this before. Look how many ex-military that are homeless or don't have jobs. You don't think they wouldn't sign up to do something like that?
Well, I mean, imagine if you put what would you call it? Like, let's say one of them portable buildings, set it up as like a 1-bedroom apartment on the school property, and then let the guy live on property. You know what I mean?
Poll the taxpayers. Would you want to pay your school board members and CEOs and all that the money you pay them, or would you rather pay to have your school armed to keep your children safe? Yeah,
but if you had a homeless Marine or a homeless veteran that, give him some purpose. Say, hey, here's a school. There's a place set up out back. You'll have a driveway. We're going to pay you like $15 an hour, and you can live on property. You can eat in the cafeteria for lunch free. You know what I mean? You have, and I think now they're running breakfast. So now you've given them 2 meals. You've given them a place to live. And you're paying the guy $15 an hour, and his job is to protect children. Yeah. You want to tell me that he wouldn't sign up for that?
Most all of them would.
Oh, yeah. Every school would have an armed guard, and if he's due to regular inspections, have a military guy come by and inspect his guns and make sure he's, again, have the guns traceable, do something. It doesn't matter, make sure he's only got 2, a sidearm and a rifle. But if you did that, those shooters that go in there, they would be like, oh shit, I'm going up against somebody who might have been in fucking Fallujah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's kind of like the way it was in the Wild West when they robbed banks and train cars.
Wild West wasn't as wild. Hollywood's blown that out of proportion.
But I'm just saying, they didn't go rob the towns and the train cars where they knew they were going to have resistance. They went. No,
they look for the soft targets. Again, soft targets, yes.
So if people knew every school had armed guards or ex-military guys, how many school shootings are you going to have? If all your teachers, it don't even have to be all of them. If a handful of your teachers in different hallways were allowed to be armed in school, and they were trained to be so, along with how many school shootings would you have? It would dwindle. It's a whole political agenda, just like we talked about here a few months back about the woman. There was rumors about a school was going to be shot up in Tennessee. So instead of keeping her child home, she put her vest on, secured her weapon. It was all under her clothes. Nobody seen it, but they could see the bulges. What did they do? They called the police, and she was arrested on multiple felonies because she had a gun in school. She was there to protect the children from the rumors if it happened. And I guarantee you, if it had happened and she would have took down the shooter, they would have still arrested her and charged her with multiple
like the
felonies.
Dickens kid up in I think his name was Dickens. He was up in Indiana at the mall. It was a gun-free zone. Well, the other guy walked right by the gun-free zone sign with his AR and then started doing some shooting. You know,
Yep.
He didn't care about that gun-free. But no, I just wanted to, like I said, I don't want to go too long today. We went
over a little bit what we wanted, but
yeah, a little bit over. But this was a hot topic and it's fresh. And we would have went yesterday morning, we wouldn't have even had this one to talk about. But it's not the gun, people. It ain't the gun. That person could have hit a school bus, in a manner with a truck and killed herself and killed 10 kids.
Like,
by renting
we're truck drivers. What if a truck driver wanted to hit a school bus with a big truck? He would kill everyone in there.
Oh, there was that one truck driver that hit a school bus. Was it in Georgia? No, it was in Chattanooga, wasn't it? A couple of years back. I think it killed like 8 kids or something.
Yeah, but he
wasn't purposefully trying.
No.
Here's what I'm saying. I just gave y'all a scenario where this Audrey person, whatever you want to, could have killed more children with a budget truck. So we got to ban budget trucks. We need to send a memo to the Congress, ban budget trucks, because they can be used as a weapon. We've seen it in France. They ran over all them people in France about 7-8 years back. Remember the terrorist people rented a box truck and just plowed through. I think he killed he killed a lot of people in that.
I bet France don't have box. I bet France don't have box trucks anymore, do they?
They didn't take any action.
They didn't
take action against box. Timothy McVeigh, he rented a box truck and blew up a building. Where's the action, people?
That was the outcome.
That was interesting. That was very interesting. I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know Timothy.
You
McVeigh
didn't know
was at what? I didn't know he was at. I didn't know he was at Waco selling stickers. Okay, that was something new to me.
But we've talked about this on the phone, Waco stuff, and I said
we've talked about Waco.
The same guy that was friends with Koresh and was at Waco that was the effect of Waco was him blowing up Oklahoma.
I know Timothy McVeigh cited Waco as the reason to blow up the Oklahoma City building. I'm very aware of this. I did not know that Timothy McVeigh was out front of Mount Carmel selling stickers. I didn't know that. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, if they let him in, he'd have been in the compound shooting.
Oh yeah, well, if they let him go, I'm sure he would have been up in that time. The thing that it makes me want a 50 cal. I want a 50 cal now because you see how panicked them guys were that he had a 50 cal. They were petrified of that gun.
But they didn't use it, and they didn't use it right. They didn't use it enough.
No, they didn't. No.
Hey, guys, this is pretty bad. This should be telling of how our government is, because I love everyone, but watching these documentaries and these ATF agents storming Mount Carmel, I'm just hoping. I already know the outcome, but I'm still hoping that the Davidians will take every one of them out. That's how little I trust our government. That's how much disdain I have for our government. Because
there's a meme that's kind of been floating around out there. I don't know if it'll transition well onto the screen here. Let's see. There's a meme about that's my man right there.
All right,
you'll have to read it.
No, you'll have to read it.
All right, I'll read it. It says, while I oppose most gun control proposal, there is one group of Americans I do believe should be disarmed. Federal agents. Ron Paul. That's my boy. That's my boy.
Exactly. And if you don't think the government doesn't kill its own people, let's go through Wounded Knee, Waco, the Bundys. What's the other guy, Trey? Where he went in and killed his wife and kids.
Ruby Ridge.
Was that Ruby Ridge? Yeah.
Ruby Ridge. Yeah.
Ruby Ridge. I mean, there's so many examples in history to tell you don't trust your government. And when they're trying to take your guns, it's for a reason. It's just like this. This is a whole different scenario, but the whole cashless society, it's all for control. So that they can limit how much gasoline you can buy and how many gallons of milk and how much bread. They can control everything. They take away your guns and they control you.
Oh, believe me, I wanted Ron Paul for president so bad. I mean, God, I begged my parents back in, I think it was 12. I begged them to vote for him in the primaries. I was like, please, please, please vote for him in the primaries. And they said, well, your aunt said to vote for Newt Gingrich.
Oh, my God.
Fucking shit, please, Mr. Moon Spaceman.
No. I wonder how many people would vote for Ron Paul if he ran in 24.
I think a lot of people would vote for him, but again, we've already talked about this freest and fairest election. I think we've seen the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Nobody would be watching Ron Paul and they'd just be shifting. So before we get into more trouble with the tube of views, we'll just
I think we've had a pretty good show today, and we don't want to get this one banned. So we better stay off that subject.
Stay off. We won't talk about the freest and fairest. But no, like I said, I wanted Ron Paul so bad. I really did. I was like, oh God, man, he's the perfect, because he's his everything. He was always a man. He was always a man of principles. Because I heard people all going through, they said, I went through his voting record. He didn't vote for military spending because he doesn't believe in the military. At the same time, he didn't vote for all this, school stuff. He didn't, he was really, 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 he voted the way he believed. It wasn't like he come out there, politicianing saying, I'm for your gun rights. And then secretly he voted on the Safer Community Act like like they recently did and the Texas senator did. Prick. Yeah. But we'll stay off of that subject.
All right. Well, y'all, we've had a pretty good show. I'll probably be back here in a few days doing another short podcast on the local stuff, but it won't be on this YouTube page. You'll have to catch Big Spoon Transparency, and
it'll be on this, Big Spoon. And hey, if y'all like the show, share it, like it, give it the thanks. But I would like to ask people, please go to the YouTube page because I can actually see the comments here. It's easy.
I didn't even go to Facebook today. So
yeah, see, we had none of that feedback either.
I got it on my phone, but I didn't go on the laptop, so we didn't have any issues.
No feedback ensued like last week. But no, what I'm saying is no, I like these comments over here. So if you're watching on YouTube and you comment, we can both see it, as it comes up and respond. If we get, but hey, go to the YouTube channel and hit the bell if you want to hear us live. We'll talk to you or whatever. But no,
I got Big Spoon Transparency. I'll do some on, and he's going to be creating him another channel. So.
Are you going to do? You're going to leave it on the Twitter and the Facebook, right? And then just put it on the Big Spoon page.
Yeah, it'll still be on Facebook, but it's going to change YouTube pages to Big Spoon Transparency.
Yeah, so. And then I'm going to create a YouTube page, and eventually, I was doing some gun videos this weekend. I haven't posted them yet, but I got 3 in the can. But I did some gun videos Sunday, so I'll put them up on my other channel. But then I'll get one made for talk about politics. Did you see, real quick, the yuan was picked by Russia to be the new currency of BRICS? Did you see that? Yep, yesterday. I seen it yesterday. I sent it to a friend of mine. You want me to send you the video?
Yeah.
It's coming. The news was started breaking out of Europe last night that they said Russia's going to start trading internationally in the yuan, which is the Chinese currency. So just an update on the Banking Institute. But
yuan?
A yuan or yen,
I thought it was yen.
Yeah, yuan, I guess. I don't know. Yen's Japanese.
I know.
But all right, y'all. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. See y'all.
All right. See y'all.